Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our second session of the Local Heroes, where we are interviewing and getting to know some of the fantastic entrepreneurs that we have here in Barcelona. And today we have Javier Figarola with us. Hi, how are you, Javier?
Hello, thank you very much.
How are you? Is everything good?
Very good.
That's great. We're really looking forward to make you some questions and get to hear a little bit about your company, your story, and some of the secret ideas, secret juice that there is beyond your success. So first of all, just a brief introduction on your company, Aba English, and your key metrics today, so that everyone in the audience can get, the general picture.
Okay. First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here
My pleasure.
4 years from now. For those who doesn't know Aba English, it's an English online academy. We serve our product through website and mobile application. We have more than 20 million students all around the world in more than 170 countries. The most important countries would be in South Europe and South America. But we are looking forward to expand our activities in Turkey and Asia. Regarding the business model, it's a freemium model, as everybody knows. Students will enter into the application. By the way, we have more than 10 million users in our app. Students will enter into our application, will try the product for free, and in a certain point, they will pay for a subscription plan. And they will have full access to all the features plus unlimited questions for the teachers.
Just to make sure I heard that well, you said 20 million students in 170 countries.
Exactly.
Wow, we're off to a good start today, right? So I would like to know a little bit about the story behind this company, because I know that it was actually your father, Severo, who founded the company. He was, as far as I remember, an engineer, but very much a pedagogue. You made the technology behind the company, and now you're running it. Could you tell us a little bit about how this story was there?
Is there, by the way.
I think he deserves an applause from all the audience. So tell us, what was this story? How did this happen?
Well, my father spent 40 years of his life teaching English at a distance. He founded one of the most important Spanish companies for English teaching. That it was called Home English.
Home English.
That he sold to Planeta.
Yeah.
And after that, he decided to make the best English course in the world.
Okay.
And he spent 3 years of his life creating the product. From an academic perspective and a content perspective. And then my role in the business was to digitalize that and to scale it and to become a B2C worldwide business.
Okay, so you're saying becoming a B2C. Does that mean that you started being a B2B business? How was that transition? Am I right?
Yes.
And how was that transition?
So this company pivoted a lot. It started being a B2B business. It was selling the English course to the main companies in Spain. And at that time, I was working for one of the first consultant companies in the country. And I was looking forward to study an MBA in Colombia.
Wow.
And while I was doing my GMAT, I decided to step into the company for 6 months to push the B2C project. And I never left to Colombia.
So those 6 months at the company were better than 2 years at a top MBA.
Yes, I think so. and after that, I always say that I did my street MBA.
Street MBA.
Doing an entrepreneurship. And I took over the company. I became CEO, and we pivoted the company to a completely B2C perspective. 1 year later, we launched a new product, and we started growing from the beginning.
Wow, pretty impressive how you're expecting this traditional route of doing an MBA, and then you go into your father's company, you pivot it, turn it around, and now you have 20 million students in 170 countries. Regarding your product, I would maybe like to know a little bit more about I mean, you're competing face to face with some of the most famous apps in language learning, such as Duolingo.
Correct.
What is different about your product, and how do you think that the vision of a pedagogical vision has made the product different?
So I must say that it's hard to compete against Duolingo.
Yes, I can imagine.
It's one of the big players in the industry. We have 40 years of experience from an academic perspective, and we had that vision that my father created, that it's, we teach English at the same way you would learn a language as if you were traveling abroad. That we call the natural method.
Natural method.
Yeah, so imagine you go to London and you start speaking you start listening in English, you have to speak. And maybe just later in the afternoon, you go to an academy and you take some grammar lessons.
Yes.
And we try to get that approach and make it digital. So through website or app, through our own short movies that we create these real-life situations that you would be involved, and you have to do several exercises related to that situations, and you have to practice a lot. And you have to, all the exercise would be very related to practicing and speaking. So you will, all your time will be speaking in English.
That's great. I really like that concept you said, natural method.
Yeah.
Especially, I've met a lot of people studying for years and they didn't speak a word of a language, and I've met people who went to a country for 6 months and they spoke perfectly like natives. So
yeah.
I really believe in that.
And you can do it in a very cheap way.
Excuse me?
You can do it in a very cheap way through ABBA English.
Exactly. You can do it in a very cheap way instead of moving to London,
Exactly.
which is rather expensive. You only do English, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that, because I would like to use your method for some other languages. But maybe I would like to know, because you grew this without venture capital. You're an extremely successful startup without the support of venture capital. Do you think that aside from the pedagogical vision, aside from using this natural method, is there any other secret juice that you can share with us today to being such a successful startup without the need of venture capital?
Yes, I have to say that we didn't need venture capital at the beginning.
Okay.
After that, we had some venture capitals, but only when we had already a big business running, and we had clear objectives and clear motivations to have the money.
Great.
But responding you to the first question, the way we think about a business is how you think about a traditional business. The main point is that it has to be sustainable. So at the end, you need to have revenues, that you get revenues adding value to your customer, in this case to our student, and he will pay you for that. And you will use that money to pay the salaries of the company. And maybe, if it's possible, to have profits. And this is how we understand the business and how we apply it. And the reason why we scaled is because it was an internet business. And through internet, you can grow your revenues without growing the operational part.
Exactly, exactly. Very, very interesting perspective. Not all the time at startup conferences do you hear people speaking about revenues from value to the user and making profits. That is very interesting perspective sometimes to have, and probably a good reminder sometimes of where business really is. Then I would also like to ask you regarding your innovation. You use natural method, 40 years of experience in teaching languages. But maybe I would like to ask you, are you pursuing any new technological innovations, such as maybe voice recognition, artificial intelligence, machine learning, any other technology in order to make a better product still using your method?
Yes, of course, this is a constant. On one side, we try to combine technology and academical expertise. So we create teams in the company that you will have developers, you have device experts like mobile experts, plus academical expertise. So they will create a good suit for the student. And related to innovation, right now we will announce in a couple of weeks a collaboration with MIT University that we are launching a product for the voice recognition Alexa device.
Fantastic.
that is super, super new, and we are very excited with that, and we will just announce it in a couple of weeks.
Great. So you ended up connected to a top American
Yes.
university anyway, further down the line. And some people in the last months, especially I think the last 6 months or 12 months more or less, are speaking, is this the end of learning languages? Since Google launched those Google Pods that translate immediately to your ears, some people are saying, okay, maybe the technology is a bit scrubby now, but how is it going to evolve, and how do you think that may impact language learning, the core of your business?
I hope not, no.
Of course.
First of all, I think it's very positive to have this kind of innovation in the industry. Very positive for society, and also I think we will not have a negative impact with that. At the end, language is one of the biggest barriers we have in the world. You can see it in Europe, where we have many countries with many languages, and that is one of the main reasons why people don't move from one country to the other. And this kind of innovation will allow people to try to get in contact with other people that speak other languages. But at the end, if you want to get deep into a relationship and move to other country, you will have to learn the language. And English is the common language in Europe and in the world, and at the end, you will need to learn English.
Indeed, indeed, fantastic. And last but not least, before we go into our machine gun, how you work in a very special industry, which is education. How does that feel from a personal level?
We have to say very gratifying. It's very gratifying to teach and to help society. The vision of the company is to help human beings by the teaching of English language. And this is how we envision that people will communicate with each other and evolve on their personal life and on their professional life. And of course, it's very nice. Also, being an entrepreneur is also nice in a way. It's hard at the same time, but it helps.
Fantastic. So I really stay with a few things that you said. I really stay with the street MBA. I really stick to building a business that is profitable from the beginning by driving value to its customers. I stay with the fact that language is at the moment limiting, and you are trying to make it not limiting, trying to open doors, and that obviously you seem to be a happy gentleman in this industry, which must be very, very rewarding from a personal perspective. Let's move on to the machine gun. Usually we ask our local heroes about 20, 25 questions really fast. I would like to ask you to answer in one word, one number, yes, no, very quick answers. And let's see how you do. Yesterday, Carlota did a very good job, and I'm sure you'll do too.
I hope.
Who was your first investor?
Family and friends.
Family and friends.
Nacho that will come now is the first investor in the company.
He was the first investor. Fantastic. How many companies did you start before ABBA English?
One.
One.
Yeah.
Did it fail? Did it close? Was it an exit?
We made some profits and we closed it.
Fantastic. That doesn't sound too bad. How do you celebrate your first client?
Actually, we didn't celebrate it.
You didn't celebrate it. And you said that recently you did have venture funding. How did you celebrate that?
We had Catalan cava in the office with a cake.
Catalan cava with a cake. Fantastic. I like that. How many employees do you have?
We have 80 employees.
And do you know all of their names?
Yes, I think so.
Wow, I think that needs an applause. That's an applause, I said. Yes, he knows the names of all his employees. I would like to test that, but I will believe you for now.
Many employees are in the first and second row.
Fantastic, fantastic. And have you ever had double-digit growth in one single month?
Yeah, I'm lucky to say that many times.
Many times. Mentors, yes or no?
Yes, I really believe in having external expertise coming into your life.
Accelerators, yes or no?
Never had experience.
No experience, no answer. Did you ever receive any public funding?
Yes.
Good. And when you have to do a keynote address, do you prepare your own keynote slides?
Yes. I come from consultancy, so I'm very used to prepare slides.
I feel you. What is the furthest country you have ever gone to sell or raise funding?
China.
China.
Yeah.
And 4 years ago, did you imagine you would be here?
No, no way, not at all.
No way. No way. What is the most difficult negotiation you have ever done?
I would say the venture capital funding. It was hard because you had a lot of emotional aspects in the negotiation plus business aspects.
Great. What is the most important skill you look for in your employees?
I would say values,
Values
sharing the same values, technical skills, and third, I would say motivation.
and motivation. And in your partners, would it be the same or would it be something else?
Only values.
Only values.
Yeah.
Will you open any other office or where will you open your next office?
Maybe in China.
Maybe in China. Have you ever turned down a customer?
Yes.
Wow. Mindfulness, yes or no?
No, I do sport.
You do sport, so sport versus mindfulness. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Who would you like to have dinner with one day?
I know it's not possible, but I think Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, but
okay.
I know I cannot do that.
Maybe he comes back.
Yeah.
We don't know. He has done amazing things. We don't know. And where do you read your news?
I try not to read many news because nowadays it's very disrupting and time-consuming, but I read general Spanish news.
General Spanish news. So here I see a leitmotif because yesterday's local hero also said, I don't read many news, just a little bit here and there. So maybe that's the key to success that we're finding in our
Maybe.
local heroes. Don't read the news. Okay, so for our last 8 minutes, we would like to welcome on stage Nacho Sala, founder of Atrápalo, and one of the most important people for the success of ABBA English. Round of applause for Nacho.
Thank you.
So, Javier, could you tell us a little bit who is Nacho and why is he important for your
Yeah.
company?
Well, Nacho Sala is one of the first investors in the company. And also he stayed in the company as investor when we pivoted the company from B2B to B2C. And he was one of the few who stayed and
That-
always believed in the project.
That's very right.
That shows a lot of trust. Nacho, how did you meet Javier and what was your first impression?
Well, I was attending a board directors meeting in ABBA English, and he came 5 minutes late. So this was my
Good first impression.
Yeah. And Javier is that kind of people who he's quite shy. He prefers to listen instead of be heard. But when he speaks, he asks interesting questions and very focused on the targets. So that was my first impression.
So when he started talking, it compensated for the 5 minutes delay.
That's very right.
Great. And then you stayed when they pivoted. Yeah. That's fantastic. So how many years is this ago? When did you meet?
10 years, 8 years, 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
And for both of you, how do you think that our ecosystem here in Barcelona has evolved during this 8 years?
Well, I find that the projects are more professional now.
Professionalized?
Yes, they are very professionalized projects led by professors, directors, and the teams are more mature than ever before. This is what I'm finding now.
More
You?
professional?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has more experience, but in my case, what I see is that the market, the job market is bigger.
Yeah.
You can go to a market to find people to your project, and there are many people who has been in many other companies before and can add value to your company. Maybe before that, when you had to hire someone, it was the first, second time he was in a tech company, and you had to learn with him everything.
That probably helps a lot with the professionalization of the companies. So we see that the job market has more to offer to startups in our city. We see that companies have become much more professional in these 8 years, and thus probably building more solid companies. Nevertheless, what do you think are the gaps that we need to work on in the next 4 years? As an ecosystem here in Barcelona, what do we lack? What do we need to work on? Any takers?
Yes, I think that it depends on us. And if we let an easy and continuous flow of money and talent from the entrepreneurs that have found their exit in their business to the next generation entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I think we have here a nice clue.
So you are basically saying further fostering our ecosystem by having successful entrepreneurs reinvesting in the ecosystem. You think that by that, we're going to make the ecosystem much more solid. Would you like to add something to that, Javier?
Yeah, maybe referring to the first point I said, the positive thing that this was about the market job, it's also has a negative side. There are many skills that we need to find in a daily basis, and it's very difficult. For example, data analyst, it's very hard for us to hire people in our data department. We have to get people from abroad, or we have to teach people, and still are many things to do related to education in very specific jobs.
You say that in order to cover for some of the skills gaps, you're bringing people from abroad. How easy is it to bring talent from abroad to Barcelona?
Well, it depends on the moment.
Depends on the moment.
Right now it's difficult.
Right now it's difficult, okay.
But
we don't want to read the news.
No, we don't want to do that. And Barcelona is a super attractive city to bring people, and they are always willing to come. Anyway, it's hard to move someone because they have to change their house.
Yeah.
And if you have to move the family,
of course,
it's complicated.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I said, depends on the moment. It's hard or easy to bring people to Barcelona. It's always hard when they have to move house or family from any city to any city. But why did you both, Nacho as a founder of Atrápalo and you as a CEO and almost founder, I would say, of ABA English, why did you choose to work from Barcelona instead of going to one of the usual suspects? I want to be an entrepreneur, I'll move to Berlin, I'll move to London, I'll move to Silicon Valley. Why did you choose to stay in this city?
I think it's the best place to have a balanced life.
Balanced life.
Yes, between your family, trying to develop meaningful and deep relationships with your friends, your family, your communities, and a very intensive job where you can combine work hard and enjoy sports. I go every Sunday skiing an hour and a half from Barcelona.
Yeah.
And if I want, I can have jogging with Javier on the seaside. It's perfect. I think the combination is perfect here.
Great. And Javier?
Well, adding what he says, it's also cheaper. We were looking at offices in London, and an office for 5 people was the same price as an office for 80 in Barcelona.
Not too bad.
It's incredible. So when you think about going to London, for example, you see.
So if you work internationally in 170 countries as you do, the profit is higher if you're working from Barcelona than probably if you're working from London, given the cost of talent and offices. Fair enough. And last question, Nacho, is there any secret you would like to share about Javier to our audience today?
About Javier? Well, I think I'm done because I told you that we run together and he's a quite good runner.
He's a good runner?
Well, yes, he's improving.
He's improving. Okay, fantastic. I stay with a few things. You can quickly make up for a bad first impression, 5 minutes, and then make some good questions, and you got one of the most loyal investors to the company. I stay with the Barcelona ecosystem having been professionalized in the last years. I say that there is still some talent gap that we need to cover for. And I think with that, if none of you want to do a last closing remark, I think we're done then. Big round of applause for them. Our local heroes that are making Barcelona this fantastic ecosystem we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bueno, muy bien.